Hello, this is a different kind of video. I'm trying to hopefully not make it a talk at the camera kind of video. It probably is going to turn into that. But this is a video on preparing for the UK driving test with autism, maybe ADHD, maybe if you've not got any of it, if you're, diagnosed, undiagnosed, you've got traits or whatever, you've got bad anxiety or whatever. This is kind of how I approached it. So who am I? Why am I giving these tips where the TF2 streams? I don't know where the TF2 streams are. Maybe you would all know if you turned on the notifications. Anyway, I am a full manual license holder. I've been driving since March, and I started my lessons at the start of 2022. I've had like 3 different instructors, and one of them stuck with me, and I'll go into a bit of that after. But yeah, I passed first time. I honestly thought I wouldn't, and I'll get into that again later. And there's not a lot of resources out there, I've noticed, apart from like articles, a couple of YouTube videos on tips for driving if you're autistic. So I just wanted to make a video on it. And I want to clarify that I am not an instructor. I'm not training to be an instructor, though it is something that I'm kind of considering doing in the future maybe. I'm not an instructor. I'm not training to be one. I'm just a license holder. So I hope if you're watching this and your test is coming up tomorrow or whatever, and you're at you're nervous for it, hopefully it will help. Maybe if you're thinking about lessons, it will help. Maybe if you're like, what is the driving test? It will maybe help. But anyway, I've made a little PowerPoint. That's meant to be a GIF. Oh my god, alright, I've ruined everything. I need to go back. That's like a GIF I made, but it's not coming up. It's like a promo GIF. But anyway, preparing for the driving test and lessons. So, first point I've put on this is your instructor. The instructor you've got makes or breaks whether, I need to put myself down here. There we go. The instructor you have kind of makes or breaks how well you'll do in a lesson. In my, during the test, in my experience, I had an instructor in 2021. Why did I say 2021, 2022? I get them mixed up. Same year. The first instructor I had, it didn't really work out for me. Personally, before I get diagnosed with autism, it was like just really severe anxiety. I don't know if a GP can diagnose that or not, but I had really severe anxiety to the point where I couldn't like leave the house, couldn't really talk to people, but it was just classic autism. You know what I mean? I had really severe anxiety, and the instructor I had, it didn't really work out. We ended up doing the same thing over and over again. I'd come in every lesson and he'd ask, so what do you want to do this week? And I remember thinking, like, you're the instructor, you should tell me what to do. Obviously, he's an instructor, he's got a really high pass rate, so it does work for other people, but for me it didn't work out. And then I had another instructor, which was my mum's friend, but she had to complete her training or something like that, because I know that you could get driving instructors that are still in training but are qualified to teach. They just teach it at a reduced rate. By reduced rate, I mean like the reduced rate of like money being spent. And she had to return to that. But then my mum found a new instructor. It was a manual instructor, and she was great. I could talk to her. I saw her in the road earlier today. I'm like, ah! Like I was driving earlier today, saw her, let her pass with a student, and I would wave at her. She waves at me. Very, very good instructor. The instructor you have matters. You need to be able to talk to that instructor openly. And I understand that with ASD, it's very hard to talk to some sort of people in authority in general, if that makes sense. What am I trying to get at? Not authority, but it's harder to communicate with people who you kind of see as like above you. So whether that's like a mentor or whatever, because you know that they know more than you. I don't know if what I'm saying is getting across too well, but I think I got really lucky with the instructor that I ended up getting, and she was extremely patient with me, and this was after I got diagnosed as well. I want to clarify that the first instructor I didn't have my diagnosis at the time, and it was a mess. Like my whole life before then was a bit of a mess. And yeah, I told this instructor I had, she was also female. I think if you're a girl with autism, it's easier to kind of learn with a female instructor. And it's a girl thing. Boys, you wouldn't get it. It's much easier to learn with a female instructor, much easier if you're open with them. And the one I had, she was friendly as well. Like, I love my instructor. I remember saying to my mum, being like, why can't you not be friends with her? She's so cool. But the instructor you have really matters, because you need to be able to communicate your needs, and it's the instructor's job to assess how you drive, assess the kind of skills, the kind of things that you fall behind in, and how to overcome this. So I think I made another slide on it, but an example of mine was I don't know my left or rights too well. So when I'm being told to turn left, I don't think left as in left. I think of Bonnie from FNAF showing up at the left-hand door and Chica for the right. So it takes me a little bit of time to process that. I still don't really get my lefts or rights. So to combat that, what my instructor would do is be like, okay, Carmen, we're turning left. We're turning right. Very obvious hand signals so that it's not completely out of sight, out of mind. So useful, especially if you're learning manual, because you're already processing so much. You're already having to keep track of what gear you're in, the speed you're doing, the people in front of you, your surroundings. It's a lot to process. And what a lot of people forget with autism is your brain isn't focusing on one thing. It's focusing on multiple things at once. Like, I remember an issue for me during lessons would be following my instructor's instructions if it was raining heavily, because the sound, it wouldn't distract me, it would just always be there. So if you could talk about that openly with your instructor, it'd be good. I've had meltdowns in front of mine, like, it's fine. They've probably, you won't ever be the worst pupil they've ever had, is what I'm getting at. And another point I want to mention is keeping a record of your progress. I remember my instructor, she just had notepads lying about, I think, and she got one for me and named it Carmen's driving test log or whatever. And after every lesson, she'd log how well I'd be doing in some things, what we did, and then I'd come back and show my mum. I'd come back and show my mum, so my mum like knew I was progressing in it as well. That really helps, because you can look back and see where you struggle with, and it's a good idea for you to look at and reflect on that as well for yourself. And as well as, like, when you pass eventually, just keep the little book. It will be nice. It'll remind you of that time when you'd be like sitting hyperventilating behind a wheel trying not to cry because you're doing a mock test or whatever. But yeah, if you have ASD, ADHD, if you're neurotypical, you've just got some really bad anxiety, keep a note of your progress. Ask your instructor to bring your own notepad and pen dedicated to that, to your driving logs. And it will help. It will help a lot. And especially when it comes to nearer the test time, maybe, or not nearer. I remember for me, I think it was after I'd done my theory test, after I'd passed that, me and my instructor, we started doing like hour-and-a-half long lessons, and logging everything, like having to do things like, I remember it was crossroads I really struggled with, and some like maneuvers as well, though I got quite lucky during the test, but I'll move on to that later. And yeah, and another thing I want to note is there are, I don't know if it's just in Scotland or not, but there is a scheme, I forgot the name of the thing, and it can, basically if you've got a disability, you have to be diagnosed. If you've got a disability, you can be entitled to funding for up to 40 lessons, provided that your instructor send you those receipts. And another thing I want to note for the instructor bit is you want to make sure you're getting an actual qualified instructor. I've been seeing this on my like local Facebook group, that the local like Facebook community group, that there's been a rise in unqualified instructors, which is highly illegal. Well, I don't know if it's highly illegal, it's just illegal and also dangerous. And yeah. And your own mindset and skills. By this I mean, see, if you are learning to drive, you need to think of what driving means to you, especially if you're on the spectrum or whatever. For me, I know dick all about cars. I play Mario Kart Wii, that's about it. I drive my Peugeot 108. It gets me about, but what having a car means to someone that's autistic is it means independence, not having to rely on other people to give you a lift places, not having to spend so much mental energy just going on public transport. I remember that was a huge issue for me, And it wasn't until I think I was about like 18, to be honest, when, excuse me, when I started comfortably using public transport. So it means independence, it means having a car, it means being able to go see your friends, it means being able to go to the shop on your own. It's really good. And you also need to think, for the skills part, what being autistic means, or like having Asperger's. I don't know about ADHD or whatever, but like there's an autist. Your skills for being an autistic person means that you have the ability to dedicate all of your big awesome brain onto a subject. Like, I'm trying to think, for me, I became quite obsessive with like driving test videos. Cars aren't really my thing, but but I dedicate so much time just watching them. Watching videos coming up to your test is really important. You kind of need to do your homework out with the test itself. And it's going to be a bit harder to, I think, I'm trying to think of an example. I remember for me, when I started out, roundabouts were like a huge issue for me. And the way I was taught, the way I'd be taught how to approach them, like, you know, you need to check your right side for someone coming, then check, then go, or whatever. I remember if I thought about the roundabout as like a spiral, so a spiral coming out, if you're turning right, you want to go closer in on the spiral to then go to the right side, and then the left is, or straight ahead, it's like out with that spiral. I don't know if what I said made sense. I might do more like driving kind of videos, but again, I'm not an instructor. I don't want to give unqualified information. But yeah, your own mindset really matters. You can't be going into, you don't want to be dreading driving lessons, is what I'm trying to get at. I remember when I first started, before my diagnosis, I hated it. And it was just because I obviously didn't have my own resources to let me know why I was struggling so much. And also, the instructor, it didn't work out for me. You might find yourself going to multiple different instructors, but that's okay. And another point I want to mention is if you really, really struggle with multitasking, and you've done like a few months of manual and you just struggle too much with it, and because I get it, it took me like probably 6 months to get used to using the gearbox. If you really struggle with that, I recommend just looking for automatic. I hate like seeing things on Facebook, like people in my local community group being like, oh, anyone looking for or I'm looking for an automatic driving instructor, and then people are commenting like,
it's not a real license, bro. Get a grip.
It's like, it is a real license, it's just you can only drive automatic cars. It's a car, it gets you from one place to the other. I'd honestly say it's better if you really struggle with, again, things like multitasking. I'd say it's better to go for automatic lessons than manual. It's going to be more pricey. I'm pretty sure insurance is much higher for them. But it's better to learn automatic, have your automatic license. I've got a friend in my life, love her to bits. She's got pretty bad dyslexia, and she'd been learning, and if you know dyslexia, it's not just related to reading and writing, it's related to things like your coordination as well. And she was really struggling with manual lessons, and that on top of uni and working. She was really struggling with that, so she stopped, and then she's went back to driving, but automatic, and she's been doing it since, I don't know when, but I'm pretty sure it's been at least like 5-6 months, and she is almost test ready, I think. I don't know, I've actually not asked her about it in a while, but she's doing much better. So 100% consider automatic lessons, I'd say, if you really struggle with multitasking. If you're not getting funds from the government to help you with it. And I just want to point out that before I get any comments being like, oh, you guys are just getting free handouts or whatever, it's like, mate, we're getting these funds because we're not on the same playing field as everyone else. We've got a disability, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's much better to, if you really struggle with it, it's much better to learn automatic than spend months or years trying to learn manual. You'll get there eventually. I got there eventually, but I just don't think it's worth the stress. You don't want to end up hating driving. You want to go into lessons looking forward to them, looking forward to see your instructor, looking forward to drive. You want to enjoy driving, is what I'm saying. You don't want to accidentally give yourself a phobia of driving. But yeah, that's my point there. So what's the next slide? How to approach lessons, clear mind type shit. You don't want to be drinking, smoking weed the night before or whatever. And you just want to be going in. You don't want to be going in super stressed. I mentioned before that I used to have pretty severe anxiety. I have propanolol for that, and not gonna lie, it kind of got me through majority of my driving lessons because it is so stressful driving on busy roads during lessons. You've got an instructor there, you know you're always being watched and you'll be safe, but it is stressful having to take in everything. So if you really struggle with anxiety, especially, I remember for me, it would feel like my throat would be getting like choked up, and my tears would, my eyes would start welling up with tears. Then I'd be more worried about not crying in front of my instructor than actually driving safely. Propanolol helps with that. It's not like a benzo, it doesn't like get you high or anything, it just slows down your heart rate so your brain can tell the difference between approaching a roundabout and getting chased by a big ass shark in the sea. It helps a lot. And habits to get into. So I remember coming up to my test, my instructor kind of drilled it into me to one, commentary driving. I cannot express how useful commentary driving is for if you're doing lessons, doing your tests. I'll go more into that in the test section. Commentary driving is things like, you're in your car with you're on a rural road, you see, or you're on a 30 and then you see a rural road coming up, and there's a national speed limit. What I would do is I would say out loud, okay, I see a national speed limit up there. I'm going to check my middle mirrors, see if anyone's behind me. There's no one behind me, so I'm going to speed up. And the reason why you do that is in case anyone's wanting to overtake or whatever, because people will be seeing a driving instructor car or a learner car and assume, hell nah, I'm going to be stuck behind someone going 20 on a 60. Oh my god, I'm out of breath. I spoke way too much too quickly. But it helps a lot, and I don't really commentary drive anymore, but it did help me get through my lessons. And another habit to get into that my instructor kind of drilled into me the kind of days, weeks coming up to my test was slow and approach. Everyone knows this if you're doing lessons. Slow as hell on the approach. My Spotify stopped playing. I need music on. You want to be super slow in approach, especially like in mini roundabouts. I think I remember my instructor taught me to like come off the gas completely when going around mini roundabouts. I don't know if my hand's doing something funny there, but my instructor basically taught me to come off completely during mini roundabouts just because I had some issues with actually controlling the car in tight corners. So slow in approach, especially if you've got autism, it makes it easier. But you don't want to be going super slow on a main road, because it's actually more dangerous if you're going slower than if you're, speeding on a main road. Don't do either of them. My voice just cracked. But yeah, physical cues. I think I already touched on this. So things like, okay, we're going to be turning left, we're going to be turning right. I'm out of breath. We're going to be turning left, we're going to be turning left, right, and those physical cues help a lot. I remember something my first instructor done, which was really good, was instead of saying left or right, like, oh, you need to turn left, it could be more towards me, more towards you. And the good thing about that is that you can actually visualize it really quickly. And then you're like, he's saying more towards me, so I'm gonna turn this bitch more towards him. So yeah. And for the love of God, bring some water, especially for the longer lessons. You're gonna be stopping sometimes to practice maneuvers. And I should have and I'm gonna go get some water. There's some water over there. I don't know how old it is though. Okay, I'm back. I'm back, you bitches. So, bring some water, bring some Lucozade Sport. Bring any kind of drink because you will need it. Hang on. I just spilled water. And this kind of ties back to the instructor part as well. If you're ever like getting exhausted during a lesson, or or whatever, because it will burn you out. I remember I'd take like 4 hour long naps after lessons. Just say to your instructor, hey, I'm like tired as dick. Can I like, stop for a few minutes? And they'll be fine with that. It's not them who's trying to pass, you know what I mean? You need to be open with your instructor, bring some water, it helps a lot. Make sure you eat before them as well. Like, don't skip breakfast like a fool, only fools skip breakfast. So yeah, what's the next slide? Mock tests. The bane of my existence! I got a burp, wait. So after I got my tests booked, I done a few mock tests with my instructor and I failed every single one of them. I think it was at the point where my instructor like said to me about rescheduling the test date or whatever. And I don't know if you've had this experience or whatever. I don't think she suggested it, but she did say the fact you keep getting all of these wrong is a really bad sign. And what a lot of people don't realise is that when instructors teach people, they're the ones that judge if you're ready to do a test. You can obviously go out and book your own test, but it's usually better for the instructor's discretion to do it. But yeah, people are like, oh, or your parents will be like, oh, you just try to scam more money out of you, and it's like they're not. If an instructor's pass rate falls below a certain level, then they will be in trouble. They won't be in trouble, but it'll be investigated because it's their job as well. They're expected to provide a service to help you pass. And a lot of people don't get as well that instructors, a lot of the time, they teach you how to drive obviously, but they teach you how to be test ready. They teach you how to pass the driving test, which is ridiculously hard in my opinion. So my experiences with mock tests, the first time I ever done one, I didn't take any propanolol, and I remember I was doing like 20 in a 60 zone with like a queue of cars behind me, and I was sitting there like shaking, trying not to cry. I ended up crying. And we then stopped, and it turned out I had like 6 majors, like a fucking dangerous fall, and like 10 minors or whatever. Ultra super duper fail. But mock tests, they're a lot more stressful, and they're a lot more harder with your instructor, because you know yourself that you can drive, that the instructor knows that you can drive, and the instructor expects you to drive. And the instructor, or your instructor who's conducting the mock test, will be a lot more critical than the examiner you get, but that's down to what examiner you get as well. So if you keep failing mock tests and you've got a test booked up, it's not the end of the world. I had the worst like mock test results. I'd come out of like driving lessons in tears sometimes because of how bad I'd do. And I think my instructor, who was really supportive, really helped me with it, but I knew at the time that she was concerned about the fact that my actual test was approaching. But this all changed on the day of my actual test. So to help with mock tests, I'd just go home, do my homework, watch videos on what I struggled with, so things like crossroads, the cars parked on each side, who has priority, stuff like that. And yeah, and another thing is that, actually I'll get to that when it comes up, so what's up next? Actually booking the test. So depending on your region, it might be super duper hard to get a test. So in my case, mine was in Bishopbriggs. I don't live in Bishopbriggs, and I'm not going to dox myself, but it's like basically a big centralised sort of driving test. A lot of people from the areas around it, the surrounding areas of Glasgow, go there. I'm pretty sure Shettleston used to be the big one, but I'm pretty sure it's Bishopbriggs now. But if you're living in like a super like populated area, if you Google like most popular driving test spots, and yours is there, you're gonna have so much trouble booking a test, but there is a solution. So you may notice I have a slide saying driving test apps such as Testy. Now we know that Testy isn't referring to driving test, it is referring to testicles. I don't know why I said that, but Testy, you make an account on it, you put your driving license number on it, and you yeah, basically what I done was I googled the least like common driving test areas, and it was like somewhere in the middle of Wales, like in the middle of nowhere, and I booked it there on the website. So I had my unofficial kind of booking, put it into the test, pay 11 quid. You pay 11 quid to the app, and hang on, my brain stopped working. You pay the app £11, and you can then add another test centre onto it. So I had say Dundee, for example. It wasn't Dundee, it was somewhere in Wales, but I just thought about it. I had Dundee as my regular test, and then I had Bishopbriggs as like the secondary kind of options for like dates to come up. And eventually I got a test for Bishopbriggs. I think it was on a Saturday. It was on a Saturday at 9 a.m. that I had mine. So I quickly booked that, and I don't know what, I'm a bit of a dumbass. It then automatically does it on, it then automatically books it online for you, and it makes it so much easier. Another point is the government practical driving test is pretty useless. It is. I remember spending nights crying at my laptop trying to book a test. It's not, in my experience, it wasn't the same way as booking, say, a theory test where you can like scroll through different dates. For the actual UK driving, but for the actual practical test, you would need to book sorry for the driving test you need to put in a date, and then it will come up with tests available then. And if you live, or if you're doing your test somewhere like Bishopbriggs, highly centralised, so many people go to it, it's like a lot of local instructor here's go to, you're gonna have a lot of issues, and it's just much better either paying your instructor to get a test. I know some people have done that, or doing it yourself with the Testy app. I've gotten my own tests like that, and I think it's the start of every week they release a bunch of different tests. So yeah, do not rely on the government website. You're better off booking the test in a less popular sort of test region, and then changing it through one of these apps. But Testy is the one I use, it's the one I recommend. But if you do this, if you do this, it's your own risk. I'm recommending Testy. It worked for me. It's worked for many others that I know. But if you spend your time on the practical driving test website trying to book a test, having no results, it is extremely depressing. Like you will want to die. It's so bad. Well, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it's draining, is what I'm trying to get at, and it will demotivate you to drive. It sucks. And then the perfect time. So I want to clarify. You've done lessons in very busy times, like say around 3 p.m. Schools are out, flashing 20s. The best time I'd say for a test is super duper early in the morning. Super duper early in the morning on a Sunday, like the earliest test you can find. And I think Sunday is just a general great day for tests, because like most people are off work and schools aren't on. And yeah, and you need to remember that although I'm saying to book it for a time when there won't be a lot of people about, sorry, I had a coffee and it made me burp. Because you're booking the test around a time when there will not be a lot of people about, and you end up passing, you're going to have to drive during super populated times, but driving on your own and driving during a test is completely different. The real learning actually starts once you've passed and you get access to your own car. So yeah, super duper early. You just want to up the chances of you like passing as much as possible. So this next slide. Before the test, so I've included some images. I've included the image of a grapefruit. I'm kidding, that's a banana. And some YouTube videos. Hang on. Weeks in advance, your heart rate's going to be pounding. You can see you got 1-2 lessons a week. It's going to get stressful. You're going to be doing a lot of mock tests. You might be failing those mock tests a lot. You're going to want to be talking to your your instructor, about how you're feeling about the test itself, your own mindset, and they could hopefully help you. They're trained in that. They're trained to help you. So the week of the test, this is a kind of, I don't know if this is like a stupid point or whatever, but I know a lot of neurodivergent people self-medicate. And by self-medicate, I mean a lot of neurodivergent people, they drink alcohol, they smoke weed or whatever. On the week of your test, you want to be sober. Try to be as sober as possible. And I'm just mentioning this because it helped me personally. Just be sober for the flipping week, and you don't just try not to stress yourself out. Like I think the worst thing you can do is probably book or have a driving test ready for like the week you've got a big important exam coming up or something. So the week of the the week of the test, make sure it's as stress free as possible. Just stay healthy, just try keep doing your own things. You're probably gonna find yourself watching a lot of these videos, and I don't know if you can see, but channels like what does it say? Like Conquer Driving, Clearview Driving. Clearview Driving's great, and a few others are really good for preparing for the test. And you're just gonna want to watch videos on what. This is assuming that you're not practicing out with the test. I didn't practice out with it in my own car or my mum's car or whatever. You're going to want to be doing your homework, educating yourself, watch a lot of videos, but the days coming up to the test or the day before, it's a good idea to not do that and resist the urge to as much as possible. Again, you want to actually enjoy driving and learning to drive, and part of that is educating yourself on it out with your lessons or, practical practice. And yeah, the night before, what I did, I've got sleep issues, and what I did, I had my propranolol saved up. I didn't take it that day because I don't know if anyone else gets this, but if I take propranolol, it helps me with my anxiety, but if I take it at night, I can't get any sleep. What you want to do is prioritize your sleep as much as possible. My instructor had one final big ass lesson. It wasn't really a mock test. I think her not making it a mock test was in order to not stress me out, and it worked. You'll have a big lesson before then, just going over everything. I remember mine went extremely well. The night before the night before I had mine, I took some Nitol. It's basically Benadryl. Here it's sold as a sleep aid. I took 2 of them at like 6 p.m. and was asleep by 8 p.m. I asked my parents to please, for the love of God, keep the noise down. My little cat, please, for the love of God, have her in your room. I've got a little cute, tiny, fluffy baby cat. I love her with all my heart. She's so clingy. She's not there. Could have saw that. She's so clingy. She'll come out of my room. I need to wake up several times during the night to let her in and out. She'll come for cuddles, whatever. I couldn't have her that night. And my mum was saying to me, she was crying for you all night. It's like, yeah, I know, but I've got a huge day tomorrow. Yeah, you want to make sure you get proper sleep. Sleep before lessons in general. Sleep in general, I think, is one of the most underrated kind of health hacks. Well, not hacks, it's something you should be doing in general. Sleep helps your brain restore, helps your body restore. And it's just, you need it! You need it. So, the day of the test, I have included a picture of a banana. And that is because on Reddit, or what is source Reddit, I know. On Reddit or whatever, people were like, oh, eat bananas, potassium helps with waking you up, helps you stay energized, and excuse me, to be honest, I think it's bullshit. But on the day of my test, what I had on deck was I had 2 propanolols. I took one in the morning at it was 6 a.m. I went out in my final lesson, took one in the morning, and then one like half an hour before my test. Me and my instructor were sitting in the car in the test center just talking for like half an hour. So stressful. I had a banana before I left. I brought a banana with me in a separate bag, and I had that before the test. I have a PCOS, so if I don't, what am I trying to get at? I'm either hungry or exhausted 24/7. It's a lot better. It's managed better now, but at the time it was quite bad. So I had a banana before then, and I think I don't think it's anything to do with the potassium. I think it's just because you're eating an actual food that's good for you and nourishes you and gives you that energy and that ability to focus. So yeah, what's the next slide? Actually, during the test, so what it's like, you're going to be shitting yourself, you're going to hate it, but it'll be okay. Once you're in, it's fine. You've got your show me, tell me questions, and honestly, they're not that bad. You just need to revise them. I don't know if it's, I think you're really unlucky if you get one of the show me's. I don't know if it's a show me or a tell me where you need to open the bonnet of the car. That is fucked up. I never got that. I think I got the easy ones. I got like I had to beep the horn and I had to explain where the head restraint should be. I remember getting those. But if you fail those, it's just a minor, and it's 15 minors you fail, one major you fail, the drill, 3 minors, 3 of the same minor you fail. How to approach this. So you're going to want to be as clear-minded as possible. I remember you also want to put in your test that you've got a disability, and you want to explain on the little thing, it's like provide details of your disability, and I think I put in mine, I have issues with like communication, social anxiety, just general like rhetoric to do with autism. And my instructor also said to the examiner, being like, oh, Carmen doesn't know her lefts and her rights, so you'll need to use hand signals. And just sitting there like, yeah, I don't know my lefts and rights that well. You need to show me. Again, I think I got really lucky with my examiner. He was a young guy, very, very nice, he comes in, explains the purpose of the driving test, and what you'll notice during the test as well is that your examiner is going to be tapping shit on an iPad a lot. That does not mean you've failed. I don't know what he's doing. You just need to try and ignore that as much as possible. And the best thing, honestly, for me is when you've actually started the test, the first like 5 minutes are the most stressful. You're just following a sat nav, and I think I got kind of lucky for the time of day mine was. I don't know why it sounds like I'm about to cry. I've been talking for way too long. The time of day matters. It wasn't too busy when I got mine. My test route was fine. And I followed everything properly. And I was I was just trying to make conversation with the examiner. And I remember my instructor telling him as well, like, watch in case she stops breathing, because that means she's panicking. And I remember having to, like, not burst out laughing when she told that. I'm thinking, like, I'm right here. Do I really do that? These are things your instructor will notice about you, especially when you're doing mock tests. And the actual test itself isn't that bad. Like, I remember I thought I failed mine because you're going to be asked to stop on the side of the road like 6-7 times, I think. You're going to be asked to stop on the side of the road quite a lot. And I think it's just to see if you're doing the correct safety protocols for moving off. But one of the times it was on like a kind of hill, and the road was a tiny bit busy. It was on a 30 road, so it wasn't too bad. I kept trying to move off, but I kept stalling. And I kept stalling until the examiner said to me, oh, you're in 3rd gear. And I was like, shit, I've failed this. But it turns out at the end of the test I passed, and he said that, obviously if an examiner has to speak up, has to take the wheel, like, imagine doing your test and then the examiner takes the wheel because you fucked up, and I would have started crying on the spot. And it's worse because the examiner isn't insured to drive that car, I'm pretty sure. But he basically, at the end of the test, when I was told I passed, I asked him about it, and he said to me the whole drive was fine, and it wasn't, like an immediate dangerous fault, I think I remember. But I'm pretty sure it's up to what examiner you get, though my instructor told me that the one I got is quite strict, so I don't know. But this is where my commentary driving comes in again. So useful! During the whole test, I was saying literally everything out loud, and I don't know if you watch my streams, I can talk to myself for days. I'm in pain, my jaw locks up from how much I talk, and so pretend I'm driving, that's the middle mirror or whatever. I need something for a wheel. I'll use this Hello Kitty hairbrush as a wheel. So I'd be driving in a 30 road, be saying to him, oh, so what's it like being an examiner? And I'm like, oh, I see a 40. I'm gonna look at my middle mirror, and then I'm gonna speed up because there's no one behind me. Oh, these are a crossroads. Well, I wouldn't be doing that. I'd have my hands on the wheel. I'd come up to like a crossroads with a traffic controlled one. It's like, oh, these are crossroads. Okay, it's on red. It's gonna turn green to go right. Okay, it's turning orange. It's turning green. Let's go. Like, if you say everything out loud, your examiner wouldn't need to try and read your mind for what you're trying to do. I cannot express enough how useful commentary driving is for your test. And I do look like a little idiot, I do look a bit stupid, like someone else saying literally everything out loud. It's like, oh, I see that's a national speed limit sign and there's no one behind me, so I'm gonna speed up. if you say what you're thinking, it makes it easier for them. And it worked for me. And I cannot express enough how useful commentary driving is. And again, remember, slow on approach. You've got your beta blockers, you've got your propanol, you've got your meditation, you've had your 2 bananas, you're during the test. It's okay. And the examiner matters as well, obviously. So after the test, if you pass, time to party! It's one of the best feelings in the world, I'd say. And again, I thought I failed my test for the first time, and I didn't. I didn't, and I'm a really good driver, I'd say. I'm pretty shit at parking. Another thing I want to mention is the maneuvers. I mentioned earlier that I got lucky during them, and it's because I got the one where you had to move to the right side of the road and go back to like spaces. I'm pretty sure if I had any other maneuver I would have passed, but getting that one really helped. Also, if your examiner, and I've mentioned it already, if they know you're autistic, it makes it much easier as well. And yeah, I got the one, move to the right side of the road, go back 2 car lengths. Very easy, not stressful at all, but I can imagine if you get something like parallel parking, you can still do it. You've been taught how to do it, it's fine, but it is like you're using a lot more of your brain power to actually execute that. So your maneuver matters, practice your maneuvers, spend like, I'd say at least like 30 minutes during a lesson if you really struggle with maneuvers to get the method perfected. I remember for me with parallel parking, the way I was taught by my second instructor didn't really help, but I remember thinking about it similar to how like a protractor is that the name of it? Those like weird things that you used to use in like Nat 5 maths for measuring angles. If I thought about it more as something mathematical angle related, then it helped rather than the way I was taught. So anyway, after the test you pass, time to party. I got myself a bottle of wine. My examiner gave me a box of chocolates and a lovely card. And I phoned my mum on the way back and I was like, Mum, I failed. I'm kidding, I passed! I remember me and my instructor were literally screaming when the examiner was like, I'm pleased to say you have passed. It was awesome. Anyway, if you fail, I expected to fail, not gonna lie. If you fail, it's okay, it's not the end of the world. The driving test is ridiculously hard. And I kind of want to close this off by saying, it's not the end of the world if you fail, even if you've been waiting months for a test. The apps like Testy can help you get a driving test sooner. And the only way from there is up. When you fail, it gives you a breakdown on what you failed on, and you can go back to your instructor and explain all this. You can practice it again, and it doesn't matter if you've like passed your first, second, third, fourth, 24th time, it's still a pass. And again, the standards are so high because of the amount of shit drivers in the UK. And your test is essentially proving that you can drive safely, you can perform maneuvers safely. And instructors mostly teach you to pass instead of teach you to drive. Well, they do teach you to drive, but the real learning comes after it. Wait till you find out about trying to get insured. Anyway, I don't know how well this video is going to do. I don't know how well it done. I'm literally just going to upload it as soon as. And again, I'm not a driving instructor, though I'm considering maybe looking into becoming one in the future. So, like the video, subscribe, and turn on the notifications if you want to see my TF2 streams. And, what was I going to say? Follow me on Twitter. Okay, bye.